Humility is at the heart of the first and third reading that we just heard. And in trying to appreciate what humility is, we first have to ask, what is it not? Especially in the scriptures and in the tradition of the church. Humility is not what we commonly think about it, just kind of walking around with our shoulders bent and beating our breasts and telling ourselves and others how poor we are, how untalented we are, and you are so much better than me. On the contrary, in the scriptures, humility starts first with God and our concept of God. God as the all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving. And then we put ourselves next to God. How do we compare, if you will? And then we have to realize that we are not all-knowing. We are not all-loving. That we are finite and imperfect. And if we can appreciate that about ourselves, then we are humble. We are not God. The scriptures really present the humble person as the one who is the lover of truth, that we understand who it is that we are and who it is that God is. And talents are really seen as gifts of God that we should embrace, that we should be thankful for. So if somebody tells you, you're really good at so and such, such and such, do what your mother told you to do. Just say, thank you. Don't say, oh, I'm really not all that good. I can't draw very well. My paintings really aren't all that good, or my singing is not all that good. I'm not talking to the choir, but but we really have to understand that those things are our gifts from God. And that we ought to, perhaps today as we reflect on humility, reflect on the gifts that we have, life itself, our health, our family, our country. All of us perhaps could tell stories about how we have been humbled, not humiliated, but humbled in the presence of the goodness of others, in the presence of the faith of others, in the presence of the ability of others to forgive. Maybe things that we are trying to do, but may be unable to this point. And in this lover of truth, that is the humble person, we need to be honest about things that we need to change, that we need to do differently. And maybe we haven't been all that successful lately, but we have to remember who is God and who is not. And if I'm imperfect and I need assistance, then maybe I have to hear one of the rallying cries of the 12-step recovery programs. I need to let go and let God. Let God's grace work in me. Let God's love help me to be more than I am this day. A final aspect of being humble is to understand that the universe does not revolve around me. So often, it's my needs, my wants, my desires that seem to have the focus of my life. I once knew a person who's long gone who had a nickname, not to his face, but behind his back. They would refer to him as Iwe. When I first heard that, I said, well, I don't understand. What kind of an abbreviation is Iwe? And they said, oh, it's no abbreviation. It's two pronouns put together, I and we. And they would say that that person could hardly have a sentence that didn't have the word I in it. He might occasionally broaden it to we, but it would never, ever be you. And as we hear these readings about humility, maybe we ought to hear the invitation to be more cognizant of the you, the other who needs my compassion, my care, my forgiveness. Humility is a virtue that speaks of truth, and may we absorb it in a greater way this day.